Hey, it's Chris, and this is the much anticipated AirPods 2 review, except this is much more than just a review, because I'm going to start out with 3 really quick tips so you can hit the ground running and act like a pro when you get yours. And also, I'm going to answer the most important, the most burning question that's on everybody's mind. Do the AirPods 2 actually sound better, as some people are reporting? Just so you know, there's some timestamps down in the description, so if you want to skip right into the review itself, then please feel free to go down there and skip around. First things first though, if you're hoping to see black AirPods with way better sound or noise canceling, then prepare for disappointment. There's no major redesign here, which means there's no extra flex ability. You can only flex on people the regular amount because these look exactly the same as the originals. But if you want even more convenience out of your 2 internet-connected in-ear computers with that same iconic status symbol look, or more likely, if your original AirPods batteries are shot, then you're going to get along really well with AirPods 2. Okay, just really quick, since Daily Tech is known as a channel that shares really useful Apple-related tips and tricks, here's 3 AirPod tips to get you started. Tip number 1, if you're a Mac user, go ahead and grab the Tooth Fairy app for $3, which makes switching to the Mac from another Apple device one click faster. It also gives you an icon so you know when your AirPods are connected, so you're not gonna blare your music all over your coworkers, it'll just be in your ears like you expected. Tip number 2, I'm surprised how many people don't realize you can change what happens when you double tap an AirPod. So open up your AirPod case, go to Bluetooth settings on your iOS device, and tap on the eye icon next to your AirPods. There you're gonna be able to bring up some important settings you can change. And last tip, you may have heard that AirPods fit most people, but not everyone. So how can you know if they're gonna fit before you buy a pair? It's easy. If you own an iPhone already, just pop in the earpods that came with it. If those fit, then AirPods are gonna fit just fine. And if they don't, then I hate to tell you, but you're probably watching the wrong video. Now I made a whole video packed with a bunch of awesome AirPods tips, which I'm gonna link up down in the description, so if you wanna be an AirPods master, make sure to go check it out. Now before I answer that burning question that everybody's been talking about on social media, let me first acknowledge today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with more than 25,000 classes in design, business, technology, and more. So if you're like me and you want to continue to fuel your curiosity, creativity, or even your career, then a premium membership might be perfect for you since it lets you join the classes and communities that can make your 2019 a success. I'm interested in so many classes that Skillshare has to offer, and lately I've been digging into one called Storytelling for Leaders, How to Craft Stories That Matter. Skillshare is super affordable at less than $10 per month, so if you want to join the more than 7 million creators already learning online, then hit the link down in the description. And by the way, the first 500 people to sign up using that link are going to get 2 months for free. So, getting back to that burning question, do the second generation of AirPods actually sound better than the originals? Like so many people on social media are swearing, even though Apple says that the hardware is the same. Well, here's what I suspect. A brand new pair of original AirPods and a brand new pair of the second generation AirPods are gonna sound exactly the same. But with use over time, the batteries degrade and people tend to use their AirPods a lot because they're so convenient. So after a while, that degradation starts to affect the output. You just don't notice it over time because it happens slowly until you pop in some new AirPods. Now, I'm not an expert and I can't prove that's what's happening, but give me your thoughts down in the comments. Right, so let's get started talking about all the good stuff, which even though this isn't a major redesign, there's still plenty of new things to get excited about, starting with the new H1 chip, which replaces the old W1 chip. The H1 is a new headphone-specific chip, which helps give the new AirPods some of their superpowers, the biggest of which might be the new Hey Siri support. So instead of having to double tap to activate Siri, you could just use your voice to get stuff done, which makes a big difference, bro. We're talking about being able to control your music and podcasts completely hands-free, which I love. You can also turn the volume up and down, you can set and check reminders, you can start workouts, you can get directions, and yes, you can even run your favorite Siri shortcuts. Now that's power right there. If you were thinking to yourself, hands-free Siri is really just more of a minor upgrade, I think you're wrong, or maybe you just don't understand everything that you can actually do here. So how well does it work? Well, it works good once you understand how it works. There's no audio chime or an indicator that Siri is listening unless you're listening to music, which gets a little bit quieter. It'd be nice to get like a little bloop or something, let you know. You can tell Siri is activated if you look at your phone screen, because that gets activated, but an audio cue of some sort would have been nice. There is a little bit of a delay, but it was small enough that it really didn't bug me like it seems to have bugged a few other reviewers. Now, part of what makes this experience work well is the beamforming mics, which really helps Siri understand you a bit better and also makes your voice sound clearer for calls. And just in case you were wondering, yes, hands-free Siri is going to work with your Apple Watch when you're away from your iPhone, as long as you have Wi-Fi or LTE. Now, another new convenience that this chip offers is less time between switching devices, which, again, different reviewers are going to tell you different things, but for me, I noticed the quickness the very first time I tried it. The H1 also gives you an hour more to talk on the phone, which hopefully you don't need. Personally, I try to avoid most calls whenever possible, but when I do take them, I love to use the AirPods to keep my hands free, which also makes it harder to pay attention because then I start multitasking. But either way, this is good. I didn't end up testing out that 30% lower gaming latency, but apparently it is there if that excites you. The next big feature that I'm pretty excited about is the wireless charging case, which is optional, but it makes a lot of sense because AirPods have always been about moving towards a more wireless lifestyle. So this is just taking that a step further. And also I got a fun little tidbit here. I happen to know that the new wireless charging case is ever so slightly heavier than the original case, even though it's the same dimensions, but just like a matter of grams. Now the wireless charging works great, although it does work kind of slow, more on that in just a second, but if you're in a rush, you probably want to pop in the lightning cable for a quick charge, which is still an option. The one physical difference between the old AirPods and these newer ones is the light on the case, which is moved to the front from the inside, and it turns green to let you know when the case is charging. The thing is, it just doesn't stay lit, which is kind of a minor annoyance. Now, like I mentioned, you can just buy a wireless case for your old AirPods separately, and you might want to do that if your old batteries are just having issues, but it is going to cost you $80. If you know for sure you've already put a lot of miles on your old AirPods, and you would know that because the batteries have started to degrade, then it may just be a good idea to buy some new AirPods along with the wireless case. And yeah, you don't have to buy the new AirPods with wireless charging. In fact, the new ones are $40 cheaper without wireless charging, so that's something to think about. You should know though that if you like to use an external case for your AirPods, and I'll link some up down below, that they should be able to wirelessly charge still. But vertical wireless chargers aren't going to work. You're gonna want a horizontal wireless charging setup. One of the things that any AirPods owner hates is hearing the low battery sound. It's so annoying. Fortunately, with the new AirPods, 15 minutes of charging is going to give you 3 more hours of listening, which is great. And the overall battery life is just pretty good, too. You'll get 5 hours of listening time. Plus, there's 4 to 5 charges worth of juice in the case, which means you can easily push 24 hours of listening time between needing to fully charge the case. One thing that's still great about AirPods 2, that's the same as AirPods 1, is just how light they are. It's something I don't really hear a lot of people mention, but there's no ear fatigue. You can even forget that you're wearing them. That lightweight is really one of the most underrated things about AirPods, in my opinion. So, are the new AirPods perfect in every single way? Yeah. No. Actually, I just wanted to see if you're paying attention. There are some negatives to mention, but I doubt that they're going to keep anybody who wants AirPods from buying AirPods. So I already hinted that wireless charging was kind of slow, and it is. Thankfully, you can do that 15-minute fast charge, but if you want to charge all the way up, then the puny little 5-watt charging is going to take you up to 3.5 hours wirelessly, versus just 2 hours if you use a lightning cable. Now, if the average AirPods owner is anything like me, the AirPods are just in use constantly. Again, because they're so convenient. And lots of use means lots of charging. And I mean, an extra hour and a half to juice all the way up, it adds up. Also, speaking of wireless charging, I have to mention there's no AirPower, which was Apple's wireless charging solution that everybody was hoping was going to launch alongside these new AirPods, but which ended up getting canceled instead. Now, it may seem like there are a lot of AirPower alternatives out there. Some things look kind of similar, and I'm going to link some of those down below for you, but there really aren't any true replacements. See, what made AirPower really unique was that you could place stuff anywhere on the charging pad and it would start charging. There weren't these little hotspots that you had to hit, you know, like your watch here and your phone here. You could put it wherever and it would start charging and give you a really cool animation. Something bad that hasn't really changed from the first round of AirPods is that they simply aren't going to fit every human on the planet. Now, I don't know if you realize this, but Apple modeled hundreds and hundreds of ears for this design in order to get a comfortable fit for the majority of the population. Now, if you fit into that category of people that AirPods just don't really fit well, then you either maybe want to look somewhere else, or you can look at some cheap accessories that would give you a better fit. And I'll link some of those up down below too. Something else that's unchanged with the AirPods 2 is that the audio quality hasn't been improved. These AirPods sound just like the last AirPods did, which honestly isn't bad. I mean, AirPods have never been the audiophile's choice, it's just that some people were hoping for a boost this round. Now, something that could have made the sound quality at least seem better would have been better noise isolation, but that also didn't come with AirPods 2. And while we're just kind of piling up the stuff that hasn't changed in the sound category, there's also no active noise cancellation, which would have been absolutely killer, so certain people are going to be disappointed by those three things. Now, I, along with many others, I'm sure, would have loved AirPods 2 to have been able to connect to multiple devices simultaneously, like the Bose QC35s do or the Sennheiser HD1s. Unfortunately, that's not something we got here either, which isn't really a huge deal, kind of more of a minor thing, but you're still going to have to manually choose the audio source versus just being connected to a bunch of sources. Now, this next thing I'm about to say is a total joke, so please do not take me seriously, but how are you supposed to let people know that you're better than them if there's no new color or no redesign? Ha! Well, when I was at Starbucks writing this review, I had 2 iPads, 3 phones, 2 AirPod cases on the table next to my Nitro cold brew. So if you're creative, there are other ways to flex. Totally kidding. Also, I need those things to get my job done. I'm a tech reviewer. So let's talk about who should buy these, aside from everyone, because they're awesome. If you have the original AirPods, then you should buy these if you know your battery is degraded. So if the battery just isn't lasting as long as it used to and you notice, then maybe it's time to upgrade. If you're thinking about buying AirPods for the first time, then I would recommend just buying the wireless edition because it's gonna help you future-proof your setup, if you can, because wireless is the future. And if you're an Android user, then don't necessarily feel ruled out because AirPods do work great with Android phones too, but you just lose a little bit of the magic. Like you're not gonna get the double tap gestures or the auto pause when you take one out. Well, I think we've pretty much gone through everything here, but let me say this. I'd love for you to come say hey over on Twitter or Instagram. I'm at Daily Tech, spelled Daily Tekk on both of those platforms. You can check out dailytech.com. There's some interesting stuff there. And also, I would love to know your thoughts. Are you getting AirPods 2? Are you not? What do you like? What don't you? Make sure to check out all the stuff down in the description. There's so many resources down there. It might blow your mind actually compared to other channels. And I guess I'll catch you in the next video. Later.